Welcome to VoiceAfrique Catholic, the voice of the Pan-African Catholic Theology and Pastoral Network. I'm your host, Sister Helen Kasaka. We are standing on the threshold of February 7, a day where the global church unites in prayer and action against human trafficking. As the media heartbeat of PACTPAN, we see this mission firsthand. Today, I'm joined by our very own PACTPAN coordinator, Sister Leonida Katunge. Sister, we have walked this journey together, and today we want to hear the heart behind the mission. Who is Sister Leonida? Beyond the titles, what is the holy fire that drives your mission?
Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm Sister Leonida Katunge, the director of the advocacy team against trafficking in persons for Pan-African Catholic Theology and Pastoral Network. I am running a campaign this year, 2026, as we look forward to celebrating the feast of St. Josephine Bakira, which falls on the 8th of February each year. But this year, we in PACTPAN, we will celebrate this feast on the 7th because the 8th falls on a Sunday. And as you know, we are working with pastors and religious who are engaged in pastoral activities in their parishes or in their areas of work, so they need to be, in church on that day. So then I begin by saying that personally, I have never been trafficked, but I have stood face to face with trafficking. And the first incident that I want to talk about was of one baby by the name Mark, and actually that's the name that the baby had, and this was what was registered with in his passport as Mark. And this was in 2019 when I got a call from a colleague who told me that there's a couple that had adopted a child from DRC Congo, and they were on their way to Croatia, but unfortunately they were interjected in Kenya at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and they needed a legal representation because they had adopted that child, but they did not have the rightful documents, so to say, to have the ownership of this child. And when I got and I met them, we had a discussion and they were open to me. And I remember the lady telling me, you know what, we be doing this. So when she said they have been doing things, I was like, what is this that they have been doing? Because I had to make a case that I would use in a court of law to defend them. And she said, we've been adopting children, but in essence, we are smuggling them. It's a smuggling of the children, and we take them to Europe, and at the age of 18 we harvest their organs because we sell them. So then I told her, it's okay, there's no problem, I will help you, but I needed to know who is this person who who managed to bring this child to you, and why do you were you transitioning from Kenya and not Congo, because this child is coming from Congo. She said the auntie to the child brought the child because the mother could not come, and Kenya was the place through which they would easily get to take this child and then transport the child to Congo. Long story cut short, I did not know what to do, but the Spirit of God came upon me and I managed to have this child be taken back to Congo. Whatever followed after that is a story for another day. But then after that, of course, that time when you're doing this job as a lawyer, but at the same time as religious, thinking about the person who is created in the image of and likeness of God and the kind of suffering that they go through. And then I remember, like in the course of my duty again, a colleague also called me and told me that the sister was in Saudi Arabia. She had been trafficked and they were trying to bring her back home. It was not possible. They worked with the Minister of Foreign Affairs in my country and they could not get a way through which they would bring their sister back home. But we worked hard and thank goodness this girl who came from Mombasa came back home and she's safe and sound because I'm still in touch with her. And of course, later in time, I did help her, other girls also to come back home, and most of them were coming from, the Arabic countries, like, Saudi Arabia is one of the places. It's actually a destination. It's a destination. And when I get to think about it and I ask myself, what is this that is actually making me now, engage myself fully to the fighting, the war against trafficking persons? I would say I'm convinced, because being a theologian, I know that we are all created in the image and likeness of God, and we have to protect human person, whatever color, race, religion, origin, sex, and background, call it. We need to protect them, and we need to keep them off anything that can harm their lives and endanger their lives. I would say that it is true we are living, at times that are wanting, because many of the survivors of trafficking, if you talk to them and you ask them what meant you to make this decision to go out of your country to go out of your country, many of them will say, I was going to look for greener pastures. Others will say, truly, my neighbor, my cousin, or my elder sister got a job in Dubai, in Lebanon, in Saudi Arabia, and they are doing well, and that's why I went there. But unfortunately, my case is different, because I went there and I found myself, being used as an object, like a sex object or an object of labor, or even sometimes, as we speak right now, even those who found themselves in the Middle East and they had to be imprisoned for reasons that do not make sense, as small as someone feeding a bird with grains and the bird dies and then you find yourself in prison because of that. So it does not make sense. So why should I, as a person who can speak on behalf of those who cannot speak, keep quiet? I cannot do that. I need to say no to this, and I need to speak. And of course, being guided, by the Catholic social teachings, especially the principle of the human dignity, that we know everyone has inherent rights proper to them and they need to be protected. And of course, again, I know that we have laws in place, especially the United Nations, policies and laws that look at the social, political, cultural, economical, and religious rights of the human persons, that only not calling for, protection of the persons, but actually calling the states, each state, to bring into record anyone who is found culpable, anyone who abuses the rights of any human person. I believe and I know that whatever we are doing is not my work, it's the work of God, because we are working for Christ, with Christ, and in Christ. And in this sense, this mission that we are carrying out is sacramental. It makes visible the invisible graces of God's justice and mercy in the world. And beyond this, there's nothing else that we can do. We are just being called to claim, and to say no, and to be our brothers and sisters keepers, especially those who cannot speak because they are not free. Their freedom has been stolen, their voices have been silenced, and their movements are being controlled. And of course, once you see one has encountered this kind of suffering, this kind of crime, this kind of, when they find themselves in this kind of a situation, then what is neutral is no longer possible, because we need to speak and we need to say no. And this is what is keeping me moving, and those whom we are working with in the army, coming from over 37 countries. Like this year, we have like 40 countries, all the way from Angola, Cameroon, Benin, Guinea-Bissau, Kenya, Tanzania, Ghana, Nigeria, name it. We are all together. We are a web. We are a cartel that is all bound together by the love of Christ for the love of humanity, and we want to save the human person.
Thank you, sister. It is beautiful to hear how that personal yes to God transformed into a continental mission. You mentioned the challenges our youth face, particularly online. We know traffickers use the internet as a trap, but you've spoken about reclaiming that space. How is PACTPAN flipping the script in 2026? How are we turning tools of harm into weapons of hope right now?
Okay, we as an army, we are actually trying to see how best we can use the social media through different platforms to pass the message that we want to pass to the world, not only to Africa. The social media has been used as a tool of harming people, because it's the same mode that most of the people who have been trafficked have used to get jobs online. I remember last year, after the campaigns we had on the 8th of February, I went online and I decided to do something to look for a job in the Middle East. In less than 3 minutes, I got 7 offers of jobs. So fast. I just wrote, I'm looking for a job. And the question, they were so fast to respond to me. And I'm like, what is happening? And this tool, the so-called social media, is good. We're not saying social media is not good, because it's the same tool that we are using as a weapon of, giving people hope. Because through social media, we are passing our message. Traffickers are using the social media to lure the young men and women, especially the girls, because we are living, as I said, it's hard times we are living in. People don't have jobs. Many of them have not gone to school, they are not educated, and even if they are, they cannot find jobs. And you are here being offered a job, like if per day you can make in your own proper country only $1, and here you're being offered $100 in a day. Who will not go? People will go. In fact, many times when you tell them please don't, they think that you're trying to shun off their star. And the traffickers know this. The language, they've learned the language to use. It's a deceitful language. They speak the same language. They promise you heaven on earth. And because you're poor or you're not educated, and there's no one who can take care of you, and no one can help you to understand really what you're being called for, people go. They process your passport, your visa, and they take you to where you're supposed to be. And of course, they have you to sign a contract, which unfortunately, most of the times, they're interchanged, because you sign contract A, and when you get there, what you get in return is a contract B, different from what you signed from your own country before departing. In 2026, in these over 30 countries or more. Actually, we have 40 countries now that we're working together. We want to see how best we can end the ignorance that is ruling most of our young people, especially the girls. Most of them are girls. We want to create awareness. Traffickers rely on deception. They lie. And for us in PACTPAN, we want to be a community of telling the truth. And that's why we formed clubs in our schools and in our parishes, because the clubs are used, they are formed by young girls and boys. And we realize that many of them do not know even what is trafficking of persons. And it is that we are trying to create awareness. We are trying to tell them, please use social media wisely, because this social media, which is a tool that is very important in today's society, is also being used as a tool to harm. And it's from this social media then you find yourself losing your life, your dignity, your freedom as a person. And I like the operations of the clubs, because some countries like Zambia, we have over 100 clubs. In Kenya, we're operating with like 40 clubs right now. Nigeria, I don't want to name how many, they have many clubs. In schools, because one school, like I remember one sister say, one school has more than 6 clubs. And they are meeting at different times, and we created a manual that is also being used to inform and to teach them on what is human trafficking and how best they can escape it, because from this tender age, when they get to know what it is, then it will be very easy for them to escape when it comes to a time when someone wants to, to lure them to go into this. This digital, deception can also be used as a mode of protection, simply because we in PACTPAN as the army, we are using the WhatsApp, we are on Facebook, people have gone to TikTok, and people are using the YouTube channel for PACTPAN to make short videos, which we are which you are passing from one group to another. And of course, we may not at this point say how many people we have reached to, but with time I'm sure that our impact will be hard, and will be hard heavily, because those same youths who are creating these videos are some of our beneficiaries of this information that we are passing. What we want to do is to expose, the common trafficking tactics and online recruitment traps that they use. We want to share real life warning signs in simple and actually using local languages. That's why when you listen to some of our videos, they're using local languages. Swahili, Lesotho, those in Zulu, they're using the local languages so that people can get to understand locally what message we are passing. We want also to educate parents, and thank goodness, I like Rwanda. What happened? Because the principal of one of the schools says, sister, we need to involve the parents, because the parents are the caretakers and guardians of their children. And this was very, this was very good to me to see how some countries have gone to the extent of wanting to bring the adults on board so that they may also learn. And this is very important. We also want to see how we can make use of some survivors to speak to the youth so that they may get to understand what really is trafficking through somebody who has suffered, someone who has experienced this. Because sometimes people may think it's a story. As I said, I've never been trafficked, but because I've come face to face with trafficking and survivors and trafficked persons, then I understand what it is. But of course, again, we want to shun from fear, because most of the times our governments, I think there are people who are complaining that their governments are not supporting them, because there are some people who are involved, and the fact that they are involved, then they don't want anyone to talk about it. It's not an easy, it's not an easy game actually. This is not a field where you just go and shout and tell people stop. No, because there are some heavyweight forces behind it, and the moment you shout, then you may find yourself becoming, in quotes, one of the victims, without actually knowing how this will happen, because some of them have long hands, and we need to be, aware of that. But if we all keep silent, then who is going to shout? Who is going to talk on behalf of the trafficked persons? In short, what we are saying, we need to say no to this, and we need to use the social media so that we can protect the persons, the people who are already trafficked, and also the survivors who actually, some of them are afraid. They don't want to talk because they're saying the people who had, trafficked them are falling after them because they are afraid that they may be exposed. But I have a strong team of survivors actually who are speaking, and on Saturday we'll have two of them, speaking to us, is sharing their stories. And of course there are sad moments, but of course the success stories that PACTPAN have helped them to engage into, and they're happy now to say we are out to say no to trafficking because the experience that we had is the worst, and we don't want this to befall our brothers and sisters in that continent.
Holy Spirit, come and take control of every situation that has troubled my mind. All my cares and burdens unto you I roll. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Sing to the Father, 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 Father. Holy sweet Spirit, 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 Spirit. Let your living water flow over my soul. Let your Holy Spirit come and take control of every situation that has troubled my mind. All my cares and burdens unto you I roll. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Sing to the Father, 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 Father. Precious Spirit, Spirit,
As the lyrics say, we roll every care and burden unto the Lord. That same surrender and resilience is what we see in our faith. As we approach the feast of St. Josephine Bakita, we see her journey from darkness to light. What are our marching orders for the continent? What is your direct message to the families and youth listening today?
Our marching orders as a continent, as we look forward to the celebration of the Feast of St. Josephine Bakita on the 6th and the 7th, with the 6th having a vigil that will take place, and our main celebrant is Father Albert from Morocco. And of course, we will join via Zoom from different parts of the continent and of course the world, because some people are in Europe and others are in America. And then the 7th will be the key day where we'll have different activities taking place in different countries, and different clubs will be showcasing what they are actually doing in the cause of fighting the war against trafficking persons. But we have marching orders that actually are very clear, and they're urgent at the same time, because we need to move forward with this conviction that it is possible to end human trafficking in the continent. We need to break the silence. And this silence cannot be broken if we are just sitting there and waiting for other people to do anything that is called fighting the war against trafficking persons. We need to name the reality and call it by name. And we need to save humanity. We need to protect the vulnerable, the children, the displaced persons, the unemployed youths, the women who have never gone to school. We need to protect them. We need to be organized locally and act continentally, because we are operating different clubs in different segments, and some people even are operating on their own. They're alone, they don't have clubs. But from this personal action, we are moving to acting continentally and then internationally. Because trafficking is not a local kind of an activity. It has crossed the borders. Different cultures are involved. And we need actually to give a response to this. Because if we are going to fight this war, we need to understand that on my own, alone, I cannot make it. But if I do I take my role seriously, and the other member of the club or in the army takes their role seriously, then as a continent, we are going to be awarded by God, because our efforts will be rewarded by God, if I may say. We are praying also. We are always on our feet. Prayer has been leading us all through, and that's why when we don't have this activism as such in the months of February as well as in the month of July and December, we are having prayers in the course of the whole year. We are still sensitizing people, creating awareness. And I had an interview with the Tomorrow's American Catholic, and I remember one of the journalists was asking us, so what is this that you want us to do for you? We said we need prayers, and he said you need prayers, but prayers with action. So prayer must move into action. Advocacy, accompany them. We need to have the policies that are in place. We have policies in place, but the problem is the implementation. How are we going to implement these policies? How are we going to take care of the survivors? How are we going to prevent human trafficking? We need to just say no, and we are saying that we should become the Saint Bakitas of our time. We should become the Bakitas of our time. We need to embody courage. We need to have our faith. We need to say no to any injustice that is coming the way. Because as we say, PACTPAN as a network has given us the mandate. And they have said, folks, you are not spectators. You are actors. You are players. Join, go on the field and do it. And we are happy as an army. We are creating awareness. We are a network of hope. We are a network of continental witness, and together we are proclaiming with lots of faith and confidence, and we say Africa is not for sale. Human beings are not supposed to be traded in as commodities, and trafficking has no future in this continent, because the future belongs to God, and each person's rights and dignity should be protected. Failure to which then we need to know what the best practice, taking legal actions, and this is what we're doing. So brothers and sisters, join us together on Friday at 4 p.m. East African time, at 3 p.m. Southern countries time, 2 p.m. some of West African countries like Nigeria, but 1 p.m. in countries like Morocco, Tunisia, as well as Burkina Faso, Ghana, because we'll be joining for a vigil that will take place as stipulated, and this will be a vigil that will be accompanied with a holy mass celebrated for victims and even the survivors of trafficking persons as well as their families. Then on the 7th, which is on Saturday, we'll have activities beginning from 8 different countries. Others will start at 6 so that they may meet the 8 deadline, because it will run from whatever time, 8, 6 or 7, or through to 11:30 Eastern African time, from where then we'll have speeches, and our keynote speaker this year, thank goodness, will be PLO Lumumba, an Pan-Africanist, and a senior advocate in the High Court of Kenya, one of the politicians, whom I may say, has been very vocal when it comes to the fighting of rights of human persons. So please join us and let us not tire. Together we say no more trafficking in Africa. Human rights have to be respected. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Powerful words to carry in our hearts. Sister Leonida, thank you for your courage and for leading us with such grace. You are a blessing to VoiceAfrique Catholic and to the entire PACTPAN family. To our listener, let us not only pray with our lips, but with our action. Stay vigilant, stay prayerful, and let us protect the treasure of Africa together. Until next time, I'm Sister Helen Kasaka for VoiceAfrique Catholic. God bless.